Welcome everyone to our first ever outdoor on the run, coming at you from beautiful, sunny, picturesque Cambodia. Coming up next.
Run.
Yes, welcome everyone to On the Run. As I said before, here we are in Cambodia. I've got a lovely setting here and it's a beautiful day, and I decided to come outside to do On the Run, something a little bit different, so I hope you guys like it. Let's get into the news of the week. So we'll start with a little bit of shameless plugging of IAG. We announced a new party, a completely new event for G2E Asia Day 2. It's called the Industry Party. We've got new branding, very orange branding for that. And as I say, it will be on Day 2 of G2E Asia from 6 p.m. That is Wednesday the 12th of July. And it will be at the Vista, a beautiful location, the Vista at MGM Cotai, just a 20-minute walk from G2E, or a 5-minute taxi ride if you would prefer to drive. And most of that walk is through air conditioning. You can walk all the way in air conditioning through to St. Regis and then hop into the top end of MGM. So we hope to see you there. If you're an operator or supplier and you'd like to sponsor that event, that'll get you some invitations. Entry to the event is strictly by invitation, so you'll need to pick up an invitation from one of the sponsors to get in. Okay, now on with the news of the week. So Macau GGR, let's start with Macau. JP Morgan up to their usual tricks doing channel checks in Macau, and they figured out that in the first 11 days of June, they estimated a 5.5 billion MOP. Well, 5.5 billion divided by 11 is 500 million, so $500 million a day. So that is 15 billion for the month. Just 1 billion short of 16 billion, which would be 2 billion US, which would be 24 billion a year, but it's only 15 billion, not 16 billion. So that brings it back to a run rate of around 22.5 billion US. So it looks like we're settling down now, because the May GGR was 1.93 billion. So it seems we're settling down at a number just under 2 billion US per month, almost all mass, of course, very little VIP. So that is the new Macau now, maybe 22 billion US per year, seems to be where we're running at the moment. Now, also we had Maria Helena de Sena Fernandez, the MGTO Director, come out this week and say that foreign visitation had more than doubled, and there were now between 3,000 and 5,000 so-called foreigners. That's not people who are not from China, not from Hong Kong, not from Taiwan, coming to Macau, and that compared to 1,500 per day in Q1. Of course, I mean, that's a head count thing rather than a GGR thing. I think the average GGR spend per foreigner is probably lower than from people from China, but still, it's good to see the number of foreigners going up, but that is still a relatively very small proportion of the total people who visit. But credit where credit's due, the Macau government is pushing this and trying to get less people from China and more people from the rest of the world. But to do that, they're going to have to make some changes to Macau, and I've talked about that a lot before. Let's move on. Galaxy partnered with TME Live for their new Galaxy Arena. We had Blackpink, of course, come to Macau, and we've had a few other acts as well. They now have this 16,000 person Galaxy Arena, a competitor to Cotai Arena, but of course Sands themselves are upping their game in the MICE space as well, with the opening of the Londoner, is it called an arena? I can't remember what it's called, but holds, I think, 4,000 or 6,000 people. So look, MICE is on the way, as concerts and events and so forth. So they've done this 3-year deal, Galaxy, with TME TME Live to bring in acts mainly from China, to bring in high quality, big name acts that will increase visitation to Macau, mainly Chinese music acts. You may have noticed that Francis Lloyd, the Vice Chairman of Galaxy Entertainment Group, was on the front cover of the June issue of IAG, a deep dive interview there, some 4,000 plus word interview. And through the month of June, we've been releasing little videos of the questions and answers, little snippets of the video, of the interview, I should say. So please enjoy them. They're on Breakfast Briefing every day, and if you go to our website, asgam.com, you will find them. Still in Macau, Macau Jockey Club announced another year of losses, 2022. They have lost money now every year since 2005. In 2018, they were given this 24-year concession, a very long concession, hoping that that would drive more investment. But look, I think it's a bit of a lost cause. The Macau Jockey Club, it seems to be that way now. They lost 25 million US in 2022, and this just continues the mounting of their accumulated losses. So I think racing is something that is on the way out, let's be honest. We saw last week, we did some commentary around the Singapore Turf Club announcing the end of its racing in Singapore and using that land for other uses and saying goodbye to having a racing industry. So that's an interesting one for Macau, and I think that's probably more something from the past than from the future. Let's get over to the Philippines and Bloomberry, the owners of Solaire, and I would say the industry leader in the Philippines, as I've said on numerous occasions before, have been ordered to pay 876,000 US in taxes. These are Philippines taxes, but they actually relate to Jeju. Solaire has a subsidiary, the Jeju Sun Hotel and Casino in Jeju in Korea. But the Bureau of Internal Revenue in the Philippines has demanded that Bloomberry pay this stamp duty tax, I think it is, on loans that relate to the Jeju property. And Bloomberry are now filing a motion for reconsideration on that. So that was an interesting little story from the Philippines. Still in the Philippines, Suntrust, the operator, or the owner, the developer, the operator of the casino and hotel at Westside, formerly well, I guess still a subsidiary of Sun City, the listed company. Suntrust is looking to borrow 446 million US dollars to complete the Westside Hotel and Casino. I'll be there next week in the Philippines, and I've driven past that development now, and there's obviously a connection as well with Newport World Resorts there. So the board's been authorised to enter into this loan with China Banking Corporation up to 25 billion peso, which is that 446 million US figure, and this is to complete the hotel casino, which is said to be about a US $1 billion investment. It's part of this larger West Side City project. 450 rooms, 400 tables, and 1,200 slots is what they've said it's going to be. And they've said it's going to open in late 2024, although we have noted that the loan is planned to be drawn through October 2025. So perhaps they're planning to be a little bit late, or perhaps they're continuing to draw the loan down for first year marketing or something like that. Still in the Philippines, PADCOR, the regulator, has said that they will be coming out and giving show cause notices and fines to any POGOs that are caught sort of subletting their license to other companies. This follows this Clark Freeport zone issue where the service provider and the POGO associated with Oriental Game that was at the Clark Freeport zone at where the D Heights Casino is in the Sun Valley area was shut down and raided, and they've come out now in PADCOR and said, look, any companies doing this, we're going to be fining them 50,000 US dollars, and and the courts are going to be issuing show cause notices why they shouldn't, or perhaps it's PADCOR issuing show cause notices why their license perhaps shouldn't be suspended or revoked, or some kind of regulatory action taken against them. So they're definitely cracking down on the industry. The CDC, the Clark Development Corporation, has come out and said no more POGOs in the Clark Freeport zone. The president and CEO of the CDC, Agnes Devanadera, came out and said that there will be they will no longer process or approve any applications for a POGO in the Clark Development Corporation in the Freeport zone. even if they already have a PADCOR license as a POGO. So they said no more POGOs for us. Following on the theme of crackdown on gambling in the Philippines, the Philippines National Police chief came out and said the intensified crackdown has seen 41,000 people arrested for illegal gambling so far in 2023. They're focusing on e-sabong, which is online cockfighting betting, various other forms of online betting. So you can just see the theme in the Philippines, lots and lots of regulatory action, police crackdown. They're really trying to clean up the industry over there because, you know, there are politicians getting up in Parliament in the Philippines saying, why do we have a POGO industry? And I think the government definitely wants to keep it, but they definitely want to clean it up and make it much, much better. And which is no different to the gaming industry in pretty much every other place in the world. They generally start pretty dirty and get cleaned up over time. Let's head on down. So that's the Philippines. Let's head on down to Australia now. And we had an interesting story in this last week. Blackstone came out, the US private equity giant Blackstone. Their president, John Gray, was in Australia, and he gave some interviews and he described the Crown Resorts story as a physical turnaround story. He said that Blackstone intend to invest significant capital into Crown, and he likened Crown to the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas, which Blackstone bought for around 1.7 billion, and then eventually some years later sold for nearly 7 billion. It was a great turnaround story. So that's what they're hoping to do with Crown. But boy, have they got their work cut out for them. Crown, of course, with properties now in Melbourne, the original property, Perth, the former Burswood property, and Sydney as well, a magnificent property in Sydney, which I've stayed at a couple of times for a few nights and gone out at. So there's nothing wrong with their hardware. And our good friend Kieran Carruthers, who of course now is CEO of Crown Resorts, has got his work cut out for him, cleaning up that company and reinventing that company and giving a new perception for Crown. Now, let's go over to Korea now, and Paradise has refinanced US $395 million in loans for Paradise City. It's actually Korean won 500 billion. These loans were taken out in 2018 for phases 1 and 2 of Paradise City. Paradise City, of course, the integrated resort that is already open at Incheon, approximately, if I'm not mistaken, around a $1 billion integrated resort. I've been there before and I plan to go there as soon as I can, probably Q1 next year, I think, by the time I get there. And this is 55% owned by Paradise and 45% owned by Sega Sammy. So good luck to Philip Chun and all the team up there. And of course, Korea is going to become a more interesting place because we've got Inspire opening soon. More about that later. Macau Legend, the David Chow, former David Chow property, that property near the ferry from in the outer harbour from Hong Kong. They have sold Savan Legend in Laos for $45 million US. I remember reporting that they had bought it back in 2016 for 42 million. So they've made 3 million on the property. Don't know how much they've lost in terms of getting their way through COVID or what improvements they may have made there. I haven't been out there for many years. Last time I was out there at Savannakhet to see it, it wasn't called Savan Vegas back then. It wasn't called Savan Legend back then. It was called Savan Vegas back then. And I think, when I went there, it was maybe 2012, 2013, 2014. I think I did go again around 2015, 2016 when they were trying to sell it. Anyway, they've sold it for 45 million to Shundo Yoshinari, a Japanese businessman. Don't know anything about Mr. Yoshinari, or Yoshinari-san, I should say. But I'm sure in due course we will find out. Well, that's it for this week. That's the news for this week. I've been here in Cambodia for a little over a week now. On the weekend, I'll be heading over to Manila, spending about a week or so in Manila, and then heading back to Hong Kong, and then finally on to Macau for our wonderful Mad Macau event on June 27. If you haven't got an invitation for that, try and get yourself one. June 27 at Ahi Restaurant at MGM Cotai. Fantastic Japanese Peruvian fusion restaurant. We're looking forward to that on Tuesday June 27. See you there if you've got an invitation. And that's it for this week. And enjoy the weekend. And see you back in Macau. See you in Manila next week. Macau the week after. And of course, On the Run will be coming at you next Thursday evening, Friday morning from Manila. See you then. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.
Run.